as a church, I don't know the last time that we called a fast. I know that when Eric and I got married, it'll be 20 years in September, that Bill and Benny are very skinny in our wedding photos because there was a 20 or 40-day fast right around our wedding. and they definitely partook in it. And then there might have been one like a year after that, but just like you said, it was in the 90s because we got married in 97. So I don't remember any really called fast. And so it was just interesting that I just felt like that there was just something that the Lord feels like there's an invitation to step in to something deeper and to seek. I love the word seek, and we're going to go into that a little bit more. But we were in a staff meeting. I think it was maybe right. It was either before or after that. And just so you know, my days, actually not my days, many of the people who work here, their days are full of lots of meetings. And so I just go from one meeting to another meeting when I come to work. And just to know, it doesn't always feel very spiritual. I'm just running, listening to people, sometimes praying, sometimes it gets into that spiritual prayer stuff. But other than that, I just go from meeting to meeting to meeting, and I'm just taking notes and getting a lot of homework and contacting, emailing people. So this one day I'm going to my meetings, and the next meeting is a staff meeting. I go in, I don't know if it's Paul or Jeremy we're leading. He just has a guitar, and we're going to have a time of worship. So mind you, context, I'm just walking into the room, going from meeting to meeting. Of course, I always love God, but I'm doing my meetings. That's what I do. I go into the meeting and starts worship, and instantaneously something starts to break inside of me. And it's the break that it's like, Lord, oh my gosh, you're right here. And I feel this, I feel undone by his presence, but I also feel him just calling me and come closer, Candace. I want all of you. And I'm sitting there starting to come towards him. And I feel like he's just saying, I don't want there to be anything between me and you. Nothing between me and you. And there's this vulnerability that I feel before the Lord, and an invitation, a place to come even closer. How close can you get to God? What if there was nothing between me and you? No speck, nothing. And I'm just undone. I'm crying. That happens a lot when I get in God's presence. And I'm crying. I open my eyes, and I'm like, is it hazy in here? We're just in a room with maybe 25 of us. And it's starting to feel, I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's because I was crying. And I start going, man, the presence of God is so here. And I feel this in my heart, I feel this longing and pulling towards the Lord as well. Like he's pulling me, and I'm starting to long, and I'm just wanting to go in. And then Eric starts his Friend of God series, and we're sitting in church, and he starts to read Exodus 24, verse 15 through 18. It says, then Moses went up to the mountain, and the cloud covered the mountain. And as soon as I read that, I was like, that's exactly what I feel. It's the presence of God, but I actually feel like he's calling me to come up to the mountain. There's something specific that the Lord, because like we always love God. I mean, at least for me, I always love God. I'm like, yes, Lord, I want you. And even in all my meetings, as we're eating breakfast, brushing our teeth, doing life, I want the Lord. But I actually feel like there was something special that he was calling us into. And when I read that, I was like, oh, it's time to come up. You know how in the Lord you feel that invitation? But we don't always have to respond. We can keep going our day, or you can just respond like, oh, that's so nice, God, I'll write it down in my journal. But I couldn't let it go. And that's why I'm going to talk about the bubbling tonight, because that's what I'm invited into. But actually, all of us, we are going somewhere, and we have to go. We have to go. It's not the stuff, we can't just write it down in our journal and then just say, yeah, God did invite me into something once.